Candy Scheffler, the Oak Ridge Unitarian Universalist Church's Minister of Faith Formation. Today I want to welcome you to a special service, our Coming of Age service. I've had the pleasure of co-leading Coming of Age this year with Catherine Loya, the Director of Lifespan Religious Education at Tennessee Valley UU. We've had a lot of fun. Coming of Age is a rite of passage that's offered to 9th and 10th grade youth in many UU congregations, and its purpose is to mark the transition from childhood to adolescence. Ceremonies marking this transition have been part of human history: bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, confirmation classes, ritual abductions, vision quests, and more. All of these ceremonies are designed to help youth grow into a more mature phase of life and claim that new phase. Well, the very fine young people of our Coming of Age this year began with a dinner back in January. At that dinner, they met their adult mentor, and then the two youth and mentor pairs each prepared one of the dishes for the dinner. And let me tell you, it was a gustatory delight. They also began to get to know each other better. The following month, we spent a night at the Highlander Center. The Highlander Center has a rich history of civil rights and labor organizing work. The history is very rich, including the training of Rosa Parks and many other civil rights activists. And it remains a social justice force today. At Highlander, the youth and mentors considered the many social justice issues of our time, and then they selected the issues and planned projects around what they felt most compelled to try to do. Well, our next plan was to have a weekend retreat at Wesley Woods down in Townsend, but COVID-19 had other plans, and so we made Plan B. The youth have been meeting this past month with their mentors on Zoom, and they've written their credos, their statements of belief, mostly at home. And I just want to say that this was a very flexible and perseverant group. No worldwide pandemic was going to get the better of Coming of Age 2020. We continued. So you're going to get to hear these credo statements, statements of belief. And here was the assignment. We told the youth we wanted them to speak authentically about something deeply true for them at this point in their lives. So I want you to think, as you hear each youth speak, of this as a snapshot of this person at this critical time in their growing up. And what a time it is to be growing up. Fraught with challenges none of us have faced in our lifetimes. That also means it is filled with opportunities, for these go together: challenge and opportunity. In challenging themselves as participants of Coming of Age, these youth have had opportunities to meet some of the very real needs of all adolescents. A healthy group to which to belong. Meaningful connections with trusted adults who are not their parents. Ways to contribute to the wider community, and invitations to think about what they really believe. And not just think about those things, but be brave enough to share them with others and to try to live them. Catherine and I are deeply grateful to the adult mentors who have companioned our youth. They are Devin Alley, mentor to Lilly Snead; Chris Weiss, mentor to Aden Charlton; Beth Meyer, mentor to Patton Fishel; David Dunkirk, mentor to Gus Morrill; Hal Hoyt with Joe Nutaro; Gina Grubb with Jack Biewer; and Becky Spain Kaiser with Elisabeth Bass. We are very grateful to these excellent and fine guides for our youth. I want to thank all of you for being here today to support our Coming of Age young persons. They have planned this entire service for you, and in addition to their credos, They and their mentors are leading many parts of this service. Enjoy.
We gather in worship this morning for my generation, the generation that follows, and the generation that came before, who gave us courage to live, to learn, to work, and to love. So as we go and make our own paths, we do justice to those that came before and inspire those who come after, to share the courage of love. Come, let us join in worship together.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Roots only goes, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant. The next hymn will be The Gift of Love.
I have a story to share with you today that is one that is a story that is common in many different cultures, a very old story. There are many versions of this story, but the one I'm going to share today is adapted from one that is retold in the book 100 Wisdom Stories from Around the World, but it is an Eastern European version of this story about a hidden treasure and a long journey. So this story begins with a man named Rabbi Isaac, who was living many, many years ago in Krakow, Poland, in the poorest section of town. He lived in a very small tenement house with his wife and his children. And they got by, but they really didn't have anything extra. They were very poor. But despite this, Rabbi Isaac always did the very best he could to take care of his family and his wider community. And he was beloved in his city. But Rabbi Isaac, one night, had a dream. Now that in itself wasn't very unusual. How many of us have had dreams that we've remembered? But this one was different than one he had had before because it was so incredibly vivid. Even after waking up, he felt like he had really been there. And in this dream, he was shown a bridge. And this wasn't just any bridge. It was a particular bridge. And in the dream, he was told that this bridge was in the city of Prague. And it was on the grounds of the great palace in Prague, and that he was to go there, find that bridge, dig underneath it, and there he would find a chest full of gold. Now, Rabbi Isaac kind of chuckled after he woke up, and he thought, well, that is the strangest dream I've ever had. That is so random, and it felt so real, but he didn't really think more of it until the next night when he had the exact same dream again, and the night after that too. Well, after 3 times of having the exact same dream, Isaac began to think that maybe that dream might be a message that he was supposed to pay attention to. So what do you think he did? Yeah, he went on a journey. He put on his shoes and his coat, and he began the long walk from Krakow to Prague. After many days, he got there. And he went towards the great palace, and sure enough, he saw a bridge that looked just like the one in his dream. He was kind of amazed. He sort of hadn't thought that that bridge would really be the way he had imagined it in his dreams. But there it was. But he soon discovered that even though the bridge was truly there, he had a problem. Because that bridge was guarded day and night by sentries who walked back and forth across it. And surely, if Isaac began to dig underneath the bridge, he would be seen immediately. So he began to walk back and forth beneath the bridge, wondering what he should do. And he actually spent several days doing that. Every morning he would get up and go to the bridge and walk back and forth beneath it, looking around to see if maybe he could see something that would give him a clue, or trying to figure out what he could possibly do. Now, after several days of this, the chief of the guards had been noticing Rabbi Isaac and decided to come and talk to him. And he did, and in a friendly manner. He said, you know, I've seen you walking back and forth here for several days, and I'm really curious, what are you doing? Is there something you're searching for? You seem to be looking for something. Something prompted Rabbi Isaac to tell the guard about his dream, and so he did. And what do you think the guard did next? He began to laugh. He laughed and laughed, and he said, oh, friend, I am so sorry. Look at you, your poor worn-out shoes. You've traveled all this way, and for nothing? Just for a dream? Oh, boy, if I trusted dreams, I would have been on the road long ago, because I once had a dream. You were going to believe you were just going to laugh. It is so silly. I had a dream once that I was supposed to go all the way to Krakow and find a hovel in the poorest section of town that belonged to somebody named Isaac, and I was supposed to look behind the stove, and in the wall I was going to find a hidden treasure there. Can you imagine? There must be thousands of Isaacs in Krakow. And he laughed again. What do you think Rabbi Isaac did? He said a friendly goodbye to the guard, and as the guard continued to laugh, he walked away. And he walked and he walked. He walked for many days back home. When he got home, he went to the kitchen. He looked behind his stove. He began to work at the wall and open it up with the tools that he had available to him. And there inside the wall, believe it or not, was a treasure greater than he ever could have thought was waiting there for him. Now, I share this story, again, a very old story, in the spirit of the journey that I think many of us are taking today, perhaps not with our feet, but the journey of the Spirit as we stay at home, and particularly in honor of our coming-of-age youth who are going on a journey to discover themselves, and perhaps discovering themselves in a new way in this time that none of us chose. It is not something that came to us of our own volition. It is not a journey that we chose to go upon, and yet here we find ourselves. And I invite you this week to look around your home, to look inside yourself, and see if there might be something of great value that you are beginning to discover within yourself, within your family, within your space around you, that you had not noticed before, that is waiting there for you, and yet has been unnoticed until now. May we all go on a journey that is life-giving for us, and at the end of this time, may we find ourselves richer in spirit and in community and in connection than we ever have been.
I've got to be honest, I'm still a little confused on what I'm supposed to be doing here. I mean, I know I'm supposed to be talking about my core beliefs and values, but let's be real here. I'm a 16-year-old who still has to count on her fingers because she hasn't memorized her times tables. I'm generally confused about everything. Luckily, after sitting and thinking for a long time, I think I have some idea of what values are most important to me. Really, there's only one thing I know so far that I will go as to call a core belief, and that's just to treat others with respect. Be nice to others and treat them as people. Things should turn out okay for everyone. That's really all there is to it for me. Sometimes it can feel really difficult to treat others with decency when those others refuse to treat you with any at all, or when they blatantly disregard anything and everything you say. But in some ways, that's when it's most important to be kind to others. I'm not sure I'll ever have anything completely figured out. I'll probably be confused for the rest of my life, honestly. But if I know one thing at least, it's that no matter what happens, I'm going to try my best to treat everyone with respect, even if they make me extremely angry.
So what I believe is personally really important to me is just accepting yourself as who you are as a person and accepting people as who they are as themselves. And I just feel like this church just kind of helps people, or just people in general, in the correct direction in that if they've struggled with that in the past.
This morning, let us hold in care Beth Meyer of the Oak Ridge Unitarian Universalist Church, whose father, Bob Harchie, died on April 20th at the age of 97. And let's hold in our hearts Owen York of the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, the son of Kristen Anderson York and Jason York, who broke his arm this week. Let's hold in our hearts the family and friends of Martha Horner, who died this week, a member of the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, who put her heart and soul into our Sunday brunches, working in the kitchen, and for our fellowship meals, and an organizing force for our rummage sales, who always brought her humor, her candor, and her vitality to everything she did. We are planning a celebration brunch in memory of her, complete with biscuits, gravy, and bagpipe music, when we can get in the building once again. And let us celebrate our young people this morning who are coming of age and are sharing their credos with us, their statements of personal belief. When I was a young adult and I came to the Unitarian Church, I went to a class called Build Your Own Theology, where we wrote our own personal credo statements. And there was an exercise we did where we were asked to write our own personal definition of the word God. And here is what I wrote. I wrote, whenever two or more are gathered to love and support and encourage each other, there is a power greater than ourselves that can renew, restore, and sustain us. That is my definition of the word God. But perhaps you know that power through another name, or through the use of other words, or simply in silence. Perhaps we can feel that power even when we are not gathered together in the same room, but are celebrating in different homes in different cities here in East Tennessee. So let us take a moment to rest in that power, in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Join with me in that spirit. Spirit of love that holds us when everything else in our life is falling apart. Help us to find that calm center at the heart of every storm. Help us to find a harbor in the midst of every tempest. Help us to know the peace that passeth all understanding when everything else is in turmoil and discord and chaos. Help us to rest in you at this moment so that afterwards we can rise and transform this world through acts of love and justice. Let us rest in you. Let us rest in a moment of silence. Amen.
Well, I'm Aden, and the environment is something that's really important to me due to the fact that if you want to save humanity, there needs to be a place for us to be. I've been going to the same beach like since I was a young child, and you can see how like people have changed the place and how storms and stuff has changed the place. And some of the storms have gotten worse that have affected that place because of climate change. I think other people need to care about it because I'm not the only person who likes to go to beaches like that and that beach. And also, it's not just going to that beach, it's the whole world. Like, our home could be affected, our places we go, our family's homes could be affected, our friends' homes could be affected. And, like, those are people who are important to us, so we need to help them and us. Putting people first, you would still have to deal with the environment because if there's no environment, there's nowhere for us to be. There's like, we need trees so we can breathe, and we need animals for a lot of us to eat. Probably my biggest frustration would have to be the lack of recycling this world has. I mean, we have a lot of materials that can be recycled. There's just not people recycling the materials, and there's not people taking it to be recycled, or people even putting it out there to be recycled. Most of the people I talk to seem to have a similar statement, sort of beliefs. I think the most important thing I would have to say is that we need to start soon instead of waiting a while. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, the decay of the environment in our world would slow, and the human race and a lot of other species could be prosperous for a lot longer period of time. Probably we need to start as soon as possible, and maybe not even start something big, but just the little stuff. Like, if you're out and you have something, instead of just throwing it away in a garbage can, maybe try and recycle it instead. Or instead of throwing away your food scraps, maybe try and start composting. If we're talking about how it's going to turn recycling and dealing with the environment into a career for me in the future, or somewhere that helps me in the future, only thing I can really think about is I want to open a bookstore a lot, or maybe work in a library. And I'm sure that at that bookstore or library, we would be using old books instead of just only selling new ones and throwing away the old ones. I want to go to a small town and open a bookstore, preferably in the mountains. I just like books. I spent a lot of time in middle school reading, and I've read a lot of books, and it's a great thing. They look aesthetic, and they're great places and great things that transport you to other places, or they'll tell you knowledge about this world. And like, books are just great. The Hobbit, I really enjoyed that book. And there's this book series I read in middle school called Storm Runners. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I really enjoyed those books too. During this period of time with the quarantine, I have not had much time to reflect on myself, because it's been a lot of time working around and cleaning up. If anything I've learned, I'd probably say that I'm able to do more work more efficiently than I first thought I could.
Well, for me, when I first joined this church, what I thought of is, well, maybe this will give me some good leadership skills, and it has. The idea I believe in most for myself, and also just for everyone else in this world, would probably be leadership, because it's gotten us all through time itself. Like, imagine where we would be in the Stone Age if we didn't have leadership. We'd probably still be trying to eat rocks we'd probably still trying to eat rocks. If we didn't have leadership when we were in the Civil War, it probably would have never happened. Slavery would still be a thing. And I don't think anybody wants that. But the most important thing is, without good leadership, people all through time would have been completely unorganized. Nothing would have gotten done. Wouldn't have happened. Presidential elections wouldn't have started occurring. Civil War wouldn't have happened. Colonization wouldn't have even happened. So I just want to leave you all with this one idea. If you want to try and be a leader, what's the best you can do with it? Thank you.
Anonymous compassion. A compassion that extends to people you may never meet. When I was in Mexico with the ORUUC high school group, I spent a day at a child care center called Centro Infantil de los Angeles, where I worked with the 2-year-olds. These 2-year-olds were as nice and obedient as can be, and I don't even speak the same language as them, and yet I felt for their need for shelter. Another time, we drove 4 hours out to a city where we stayed a night at a host family. Only one of our 20 members in our group knew them, but these family had enough compassion to let 19 strangers into their house. This experience opened my eyes to a world I had never known existed before. All of these people have very low incomes, yet they feel compassion for people, for everyone. This is a value I intend to live my life on. This value is shown in our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and I intend to follow this. One way I am currently using this value is working at the garden at a 24/7 daycare called the Blossom Center. The Blossom Center is a non-profit daycare that helps kids at almost all times of the day get warm and delicious food. This is why Blossom Center is a Split the Plate recipient of this month. Every week we donate half of our Split the Plate to a nonprofit we support, which today is the Blossom Center. This is only for ORUUC. Thank you for opening your generous hearts.
Today, as our service is being jointly offered by ORUUC and TVUUC, you have 2 opportunities to give this morning during our offering. You can choose either congregation. We encourage folks to give as generously as you are able, if you are in a relatively stable position today, to support the work of our congregations in our community and in the wider world, and also the organizations that our congregations are supporting through our Share the Plate program this morning. ORUUC, as Jack mentioned a few moments ago, is sharing their plate this month with the Blossom Center, which is a nonprofit organization located in Oak Ridge that provides child care services and child-centered programs that are affordable and accessible, and they are available 7 days a week. And this is particularly important these days for families of first responders and other essential workers who continue to need child care during this time. To give to ORUUC, you can send a text to 73256 that says ORUUC and then the amount that you want to give. Or you can give online at oruuc.org/online-giving. The vision of the Blossom Center is to see that all children reach their full developmental potential so that families and communities thrive. They believe that all families deserve affordable, high-quality childcare, and that is what they offer. And they offer sliding scale tuition to make their programs accessible to all members of their community, particularly low-income families. And today, TVUUC's Share the Plate recipient is Planned Parenthood of Tennessee and North Mississippi. All of the offerings that come to TVUUC today that are not designated as pledges will be evenly split between TVUUC and Planned Parenthood. And the way you can give to TVUUC is by going to tvuuc.org/give, or you can give by text at 73256 and then put in the text TVUUC and the amount that you would like to give. Thank you so much for your support, and we have a short message now from the Director of Community Engagement at Planned Parenthood.
Hi, TVUUC. My name is Tori Mills, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement for Planned Parenthood of Tennessee and North Mississippi. I'm glad to be with you today. First and foremost, I just wanted to say thank you so much for continuing to name Planned Parenthood as a Share the Plate recipient. I'm not sure how many years it's been now, but we are continually grateful for this opportunity and for your continued financial and emotional and advocacy support. So thank you. I was thinking about it, and I feel like every year when I come to TVUUC and talk about our work, there's, I always feel like I'm bringing an urgent message from the front lines of sexual and reproductive health care and rights. And unfortunately, this year doesn't feel a lot different. The current public health crisis has really not changed the need for our services. I was surprised recently to find out some data about healthcare during crises. So whether that's hurricanes or a recession, we often see fluctuations and dips in the number of visits that people make to healthcare providers. And what's interesting is we don't see those same decreases in visits to sexual and reproductive healthcare providers. Those visits stay the same. And to me, that really underlines how essential and time sensitive a lot of the healthcare that we at Planned Parenthood provide is. All that to say, you may have seen on the news in the last few weeks that the governor here in Tennessee filed an executive order to ban surgical abortion services in the state through the end of April. Planned Parenthood, as well as other independent healthcare providers like Knoxville Center for Reproductive Health, the ACLU, and the Center for Reproductive Rights filed an emergency lawsuit immediately. And we found out last Friday that we won. So there is a temporary restraining order that will allow us to keep providing these really essential services during this time. Unfortunately, we also know that this is still tenuous, and so we're kind of taking it day by day to see, to make sure that we're still able to provide the care that people need. So this is a really difficult time with a lot of uncertainty for folks across the board when it comes to healthcare, and that's certainly no different for sexual and reproductive rights and healthcare. However, I do want to let you know that Planned Parenthood is still doing everything that we can to provide core services and access to those services. So including things like making sure folks have their birth control prescriptions refilled, that they have access to STI testing, they have access to abortion care and gender affirming hormones. We're doing everything that we can to make sure that our staff and patients are protected against COVID and also still receiving the services they need. I know, I can tell you from our end, we are not going to stop fighting. This is a long and difficult fight. But it is one that we will continue, and I hope that we can count on your support to continue fighting with us in this. So thank you so much today. If you're able to make a financial contribution, it means so much to us and to our patients and to the communities that we serve. And I'm glad to get to chat with you, and I hope that we see each other soon under brighter times. Take care, stay safe and well.
Every person's inherent worth and dignity grants them inalienable human rights.
According to my coming-of-age journal, credo is a Latin word that in general interpretation means I believe. More literally, it means to this I give my heart. A core belief, something that you truly think with all your being, something that changes the way you try to live each day. Here is one of mine. What I do matters, what you do matters, but more importantly, what we do matters. This isn't a new thought by any means. Parents tell it to their children, protesters affirm it on the street, and people prove it when they vote. It's even in our 7 principles. Why would we strive to have compassion in our relationships, respect the web of which we are a part, and promote the democratic process if what we did didn't matter? Despite this, though, it's personal experience that leads me to believe it so strongly. Last year, as most of you know, I was part of a group of youth and adults who went to San Miguel de Allende, a city in Guanajuato, Mexico. We spoke in the service for a UU congregation there, not dissimilar to the way I'm speaking to this congregation now. After we spoke, a woman with her 2 children came up as part of an invitation to convey concerns and prayers. She expressed that she was glad to see American youth willing to use their privilege to help others, and that it would be kids like us who would one day change the world. Other people in the congregation that I talked to said they felt similar ways, seeing not just one person but a group of people who were doing their best to learn and make a difference brought them some hope for the world. That hope is a difference that, although we hadn't expected to make, went to show how much a few people, together, could affect the feelings of a larger group. Another example many of the ORUUC folk are very familiar with is the ORUUC rummage sale, where we put together a massive garage sale, only instead of a garage, it takes place in our church building. I almost always occupy the book section, shuffling around tables and paper until I can call it close enough to presentable. This section is my usual, but even as I'm glaring at a difficult bookcase, I'm keenly aware of the many other people putting together the other rooms, moving furniture, folding clothes, and sorting jewelry. When it's all done, we open the doors to the dozens of people waiting outside. That rummage sale makes not only an undeniable difference to the people outside, but also makes a financial difference to ORUUC itself, more than the book room or the clothes room could ever imagine alone. Both of these instances, I can safely say, wouldn't have happened if it had been just me. Not because I don't care, but because I personally couldn't have made that difference myself. And, despite the strength and willpower of those who I helped, I doubt they could have done it individually either. It was together, as much as we could be, that we made those differences, however small. What we did matters, and what we do matters now, too. To that I give my heart.
I believe that the most important things to me are people, freedom, and gratitude. People, especially those close to me, are important to me because they play big roles in my life. Family love you unconditionally, share joys and failures, and support you. Friends are there for you no matter what is going on, and you enjoy time with them no matter what you do. When I am not the nicest to my friends and family, they still have my back and forgive me. Now I continue to be influenced by and spend time with these important people. The next thing that is important to me is freedom. The freedom to think, make things, do what is hard, have fun, and be sad. I've learned I'm not satisfied boxed in. I want to be free to grow, do what interests me, and live life to the fullest. As I have grown and gained more freedom, I've realized how much of a blessing it is. The final thing I'd like to mention is gratitude. Looking back on my favorite moments or places, I'm realizing that I enjoy them not because they are perfect, but because I appreciate the best things about them. Gratitude helps ground me, and when I'm worried or anxious, it lets me just live in the moment.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away turn my sail and pull my rudder as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbored or thought have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home.
We set aside such ritual moments as these to recognize important changes in the lives of members of our community and really of our community itself, as we do this morning, a rite of passage for our coming-of-age youth and for our congregation. Each of our two congregations doing our service together this morning are going to do our own ritual of recognition, and so we will be focusing on our TVUUC youth who participated in our coming-of-age program this year, Aden, Charlton, and Lilly, Snead. Lilly and Aden have shared their statements of faith and who they are and what's important to them at this point in their lives. They've shared those as individuals with differing perspectives, life experiences, and beliefs within the context of our UU community and our UU faith. And we welcome you, Aden and Lilly, into a new role in this community, and we join together with you, drawing all of our individual beliefs and experience together into one warm embrace. Virtual, if not in person, this morning. And now, as much as ever, we give you our affection, our support, and our concern. And in pride and love and faith, we will continue to stand with you, to be with you in our hearts and in our community, afar as well as when we are together again in person. Before we move into the ritual part of our coming of age ceremony, there are some messages for you and to be shared with our full community in our service this morning from your mentors, people who have worked with you throughout the coming of age program this year and have some observations about what they see of you and who you are and what you're passionate about. And so I'm going to invite them to share their thoughts with us this morning.
It's been a pleasure getting to know Aden, who I see as a peaceful warrior, an echo warrior, working to address the enormous problem of climate change in our world. I see him as a leader among his friends, someone who is knowledgeable without being a know-it-all, someone who is a still presence, a calm presence, sometimes within a more chaotic youth group. He brings energy where other people feel apathy, and he brings a love of books and literature. And like The Hobbit, a story that he grew up reading, he knows that a small person can make a big difference in the world. And I'm excited to be a part of his coming of age.
One of the definitions of fierce in the Merriam-Webster dictionary is furiously active or determined. Another is having or expressing bold confidence or style. I've been acquainted with Lilly Snead for a while. As one of the youth in our community, someone who always seemed a little quiet, somewhat reserved, and someone I wanted to know better. But I never would have thought fierce would be a word that would come to mind to describe her, until I got to really know her over the past few months. And let me tell you, Lilly is fierce. Lilly is fiercely witty. Her one-liners and gentle sarcasm are a wordsmith's delight. Lilly is fiercely passionate about wanting to right injustices, especially for individuals who are marginalized by the educational system. Lilly is fiercely loyal to her family, her friends, and her community. Lilly is fiercely opinionated about politics, about her beliefs, and about potatoes being the most important food group. Most of all, Lilly is fiercely brave. I never imagined when I signed up to participate as a mentor in the Coming of Age program that I would be both awed and inspired by the bravery of my mentee, the bravery to take chances, the bravery to take action, and the bravery to be herself. When I grow up, I hope I can be even half as fierce and brave as Lilly Snead.
Today, we come together in unity, together though physically distant, to celebrate this important milestone in the lives of Aden and Lilly and for our community as well. Aden and Lilly, we support you as you determine how you will continue to partner with this community and in the ongoing life of our Unitarian Universalist faith. May you know that you will always, as youth and as beloved members of our TVUUC community. I invite all who are watching now, if you would, as part of our recognition of our coming of age of our beloved youth, to help us extend our care and love for them by sending messages, if you are watching via Facebook, messages of good wishes or hopes or what you see in our youth in the comments. Messages for Lilly and for Aden, but also more broadly, perhaps, for all of the young people in our community who are growing into themselves in some new ways in this very strange time, a time that none of us asked for and that comes with losses big as well as small. And we know that all of our youth and our young people are experiencing losses as school and church and achievements and hobbies and all kinds of things are not happening in the ways that we expected them to as we began this year. So I am especially glad that we have been able to continue our Coming of Age program and hold our culminating service in recognition of our youth today, even though it looks a little different than we thought it would when we got started earlier in the year. So please do share messages for our young people. And now, Aden and Lilly, we have a gift for you. We are not together in person, but we have orchestrated over the past week getting to you, to your families, some gifts for you. And they have been invited to share them with you this morning at this point in the service as gifts of love from all of us at TVUUC and in recognition of your coming of age. We have for you a flaming chalice pendant and a book that is called Becoming, is edited by Kayla Parker, with lots of resources and reflections and poems and stories around growing into adulthood and navigating adulthood as you become young adults in some ways and continue your journey towards adulthood as you continue to grow up. And so you now hopefully have your pendants and your book, and we give them to you with deep love and care, and as a symbol of your passage from childhood into young adulthood, of our continuing commitment to you and to the freedom of your journey, we have presented you with these gifts. We believe in you, and we share with you the hopes and labors of making this a better world. We want you to celebrate who you are and look forward joyfully to who you will continue to become. Congratulations, Aden and Lilly. You have now come of age.
In the words of Wendell Berry, our children coming of age. In the great circle dancing in and out of time, you move now toward your partners, answering the music suddenly audible to you that only carried you before and will carry you again. When you meet the destined ones now dancing toward you, out of your awareness for the time, we whom you know, others we remember, whom you do not remember, others, forgotten by us all. When you meet and hold love in your arms, regardless of all, the unknown will dance away from you, toward the horizon of light. Our names will flutter on these hills like little fires.
As our last act of worship, I invite you to greet your neighbors and those in your community who are in need of connection and reassurance in all the ways available to you. I invite you to continue to send messages of love and care for our young people who are coming of age today and all the young people who are coming into themselves in this time of physical distancing, yet staying socially and spiritually connected. Go in peace.